All right, so this is uh, something that y'all had given me, I guess about a week or so ago, and it was just kind of, you know, opening up my understanding of some of the stuff that we see going on around us, and then after listening to Watchman's program last night, it was it was almost like confirmation with this technology,
Yeah.
the messages that are being sent out. Because one of the things that I had been praying was that y'all would confuse the technology. This is why I put this on the prayer list about 2 months ago. I put down, I said, y'all please confuse the technology of the devil.
Yeah.
And it has been kind of patently clear to us that the Bible says it is Yah that also gives um, abilities to find out things about technology and things like that. So we don't give all the technology credit to the devil for revealing, because even if he did, he got it from Yah anyway. It's not his. He just took it and just put his stamp on it, because we know there was a black man that took the science of the microwaves and gave us what we have today, which is the modern day cell phone. We know it was a black man that came up with the personal computer. He used to work for IBM or whatever. So what it's showing me is that Yah can give us these understandings of this technology, not through using demonic ways to download it into us, but that's how they get it. They deal with this devilment in things like Jack Parsons did back in the late 1940s, early 1950s, where him and his wife and some other guy went out to the deserts of Nevada and did some kind of Babylon working ceremony, where they was asking these spirits to come into them and give them understanding of rocket technology. And when they came back, he started JPL, which built all the rockets that they used, along with von Braun, who was also into mysticism. How they used this contact with spirits. Not that they wasn't smart people, it was, but these spirits gave them the understanding of rocketry and all this that they used to send stuff to the moon and the outer space. And that's why when you looked at the rockets and stuff, all of the rockets had names of Greek gods or whatever. And even the satellites and all these things, in order for them to get it, these spirits said, you got to put our name on it. Like, you know, the rockets being named Atlas and Apollo and Zeus and the Titans, all these kind of things. And so what we find is right now, the message that is going out across the world, Satan is using this technology to put out these messages. So, you know, our lesson today is going to be putting it into the atmosphere. And the reason that I'm doing this is because you see the things that's going on with the messages that are being sent out every time people go on to the internet, or going out to the news agencies, and you have people like Donald Trump and others that send out these messages, these coded messages into what they call the atmosphere, and how their followers know exactly what they're saying. You know, they talk about how Donald Trump talks in code all the time, and so we see that this is not nothing new. This is in the Bible. And so we're going to show you in the Bible how things are put out into the atmosphere, not only by Satan, but also things are put out in the atmosphere by Yah. But also things can be put out into the atmosphere by us as people. So we're going to go through that about, and the title is going to be putting it into the atmosphere. And we're going to go to Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, starting at verse 1. And this is a very familiar scripture. And while you finding it, I'm gonna read it once you tell me you find it. This is some of the stuff that we're going to go over today. I studied it briefly when I was in school at Shaw in my philosophy class. One of the people that we studied was Hegel. And Hegel was a philosopher. And one of the things that he didn't come up with it. Understand that these people don't come up with it. All they do is codify to put it in a book, what was already out there. And what Hegel came out with was the Hegelian dialectic. I think I talked to Mark about it a long time ago, and he said he might have learned a little bit while he was in school, because they use this stuff, they call it the dialectic, where they put this stuff out upon the masses of people to change the way they think. And so Ephesians 2, 1 through 3, to me, is a perfect explanation of what the Hegelian dialectic, the Gaias, they say, is. So Ephesians 2, 1 through 3. Did you open that blind up, or is it blinding? I want to be able to see a little. Hold on. Let me see if I can get some more light this way. Hold on. No, I can open it. Okay. You're good. You ain't got to open it up. Okay, so Ephesians 2, starting at verse 1, it said, "And you has he quickened, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience, among whom also we all had our conversation in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others." Now you remember what I said, whenever Paul, most of the time he's talking to his audience. For the most part, he said he will always go to the Yahudim first and then to the Gentiles. So a lot of times his primary audience, even though he said the Ephesians, he was mostly talking to the Ephesians that were Hebrew, or Yahudim, and also the Gentiles that was among them. Because you'll see how when he said trespasses, right? Only the Hebrew would know what trespasses is. Trespasses is something in the law that you did knowingly. So he said he quickened that were dead in trespasses and sins. And how were you dead in them? Verse 2 is where we get the thought about putting it into the atmosphere. He said you were dead in the trespasses and sin according to the course of this world, and that's the Hegelian dialectic. The Hegelian dialectic is the thought of all mankind. What is the thought of all mankind? Right? Is to take care of his flesh, not to go through pain, have all his needs, her needs met, right? And also be able to do as Alistair Crowley said, to do as thou will. What do I want to do today? That is the course of this world. The Hegelian dialectic is problem, solution, reaction, where they create a problem, they create the problem, and they come up with a solution, and then if the synthesis can bring everybody together, because it'll get everybody on one chord, right? And so the Hebrews were supposed to be the ones that was going to go out and tell the world not to walk according to the course of this world, but what happened was they got caught up and they got off key, and they caught up in the things that the Gentiles look like. Because remember, Yeshua said, these are the things that the Gentiles look for, how they're going to fulfill their flesh and all these things. That's what the nation did. They got caught up in their physical needs and not remembering that they were supposed to be the light of Yah, and they got caught up in the course of this world that was governed by the prince of the power of the air, which is which is Satan. And the air, the word air in Greek is from the word atmosphere, but it doesn't just mean the atmosphere above us. It also means the atmosphere around us, around our down here it said the atmosphere of the lower or higher level. So we are saying that Satan in this world, he is mostly in control not only of the upper atmosphere, but also this down here around us. He controls this through what? Our mind, through our thoughts, the spirit, through that worketh in the children of disobedience. And we talked about this a couple of months ago when I said that the children of Israel became the children of disobedience, the children of Belial, the children of worthlessness, because they allowed the power of Satan to control their mind. Because remember what happened with Yeshua when he went into the Judean desert. What did the Bible say when he was driven by the Ruach, or the Spirit, into the Judean desert to be tempted of the devil? What happened to Yeshua was what had happened to the nation of Israel. They had been deceived by Satan. They had took the bait, and now Yeshua, when he came, he took the challenge from the devil, and he defeated him. And now he was going to come and give the nation and say, hey, I've defeated the devil in head-to-head combat. Now I'll give you the same power to overcome him and to resist him. But the nation said, we don't want to resist Satan. We don't want to resist the thoughts that he's putting in our mind. We don't want to resist the corruption that he is putting out there. That's why they was in the state that they were in. And so we know that when they rejected him, he told his disciples, he said, okay, no problem. In a few decades, Jerusalem is going to be destroyed. I'm giving you that prophecy. He said, but this word that I got is going to be accomplished in somebody. It's going to be accomplished in the Gentiles, in fact, because my people is going to be blinded, but I'm not going to totally cast them aside. But the prince of this world knows that he was dealt a blow, but he's not going to go down. So since my people are closing their mind off to this message, I'm going to go to the Gentiles. I'm going to go out. I'm going to send you out. And in order for you to go out and defeat them, I got to download into you the Holy Ruach, or the Spirit, to be able to combat him, so that when you go and first, you're going to still give the message to my people. He said, but you're also going to go to Samaria, and you're going to go to the uttermost parts of the world to preach to my people first, and then to the Gentiles this message, so that they can defeat the prince of the power of the air that's putting these thoughts in their mind to do evil, because he is in control of that temporarily. But I defeated him, right? He said, and so that you will not be of the children of disobedience, because notice what happened during the time of Noah before the flood came. The Bible said one of the reasons why Yah had been determined to destroy the earth at the time that Noah was in, he said that evil had got so bad, the Bible said in the book of Genesis, he said that men's thoughts were only evil continually. And so at the time that Yeshua, a lot of people don't understand the last days started at the time that Yeshua came back and showed himself to Israel, because the Bible said the prince of this world is undone. So the last days started back then. They started, and we are in the very ending of those last days now. But he said the prince of this world is cast out, but he's not down yet, because until Yah's people's vision is opened back up, it would be that the kingdom could come in, because the kingdom was us, right? So he gave it to the Gentile, but it never was for them to hold on to it. What they did was try to take it and usurp it for themselves, and therefore Satan was able to defeat them and corrupt the message that Yeshua was trying to give out. But it was ours first, but we rejected it because of the prince of the power of the airways, where he was putting out to us and telling us, oh, you don't need the sacrifice of Yeshua, oh, you can do it all yourself by saying that you can keep the law that you ain't keeping, because you can't keep it, because according to what Romans said, he said the law is spiritual, and I can't walk in it unless I am what? Born again. Unless I'm not only born again, but I'm also full with the Spirit, because Ezekiel prophecy said the day I would give you a new heart, and I will write the laws upon your heart. It never was that he was going to do away with us doing right. It's just that he said he was going to put it into us spiritually and help us to walk it out, where we wouldn't have to walk with phylacteries on us and the tablets on our forehead and all that, and take the scripture out. He was going to write it on our heart, right, to be able to do it, and his people rejected that. And so the prince of the power of the air is still the prince of the power of the air, temporarily, but there was a way to defeat him. He said, you that had your conversations past, if you are quickened, meaning the word quicken means life, meaning born again. You have to be born again to get on the right frequency. And I think we was talking about this a couple of months ago, talking about getting on the Christ frequency, because there is a frequency in the universe that they said scientists know, and it's a constant thing. And all it is that the universe, even though it is in a fallen state, there's still a frequency that it is on, that is what I call the Yah frequency. That without him, he said, everything is moving by the power of Yah. That even though the devil has a small little piece in it, overall Yah is an overarching thing. That's why even Satan, when he tempted Yeshua, he said, it is the power to give you these kingdoms is given into my hands. By who? By Yah. So even the power that Satan got is power that comes from Yah temporarily. He said, I'll give you to what? To catch those in the snare that still want to be under your power, that still want to be under the power, the prince of the power of the air, and to be ensnared in you. I'll allow you to have power over them. But those that I quicken, they'll be able to be pulled out. So what does Satan go to do? He goes to perfect those that are his, to master this power of the airwaves. See? Before they even had radios, they had people that would be great orators. And you read in the book of Acts, you will see that many, many times that when Paul got forth to try to speak, right, he would find opposition. Or even like when Stephen spoke, but the Bible said that when Stephen spoke in the book of Acts, and he said that they could not confound his speech, he said that the people grabbed their ears and yelled and screamed so they couldn't hear what he was saying, because they said his speech was like that of an angel. He was taking control of the airways, the atmosphere, and the people that wanted to still be under the power of Satan, they wanted to resist it by stopping their ears up. He said they was not able to resist him, right? So now what happens today when you are born again, that is your resistance. When you are born again, you can resist the technology. You can resist the CERN. You can resist all these things. You can resist the people that go out there and speak these blasphemous things, even though they might be in a three-piece suit. You can resist. You can discern when they are sending out things under power of Satan. When these people speak, you can see through and say, man, that's nothing but smoke and mirrors. They're sending out a spirit. This is why America was such. This is what made America so great, because in Revelations it talks about America. He said there came forth and this is crazy, and I thought about it. The Bible said Yeshua first he came as a lamb, right? But he actually was also a lion, right? So he first came as a lamb, then as a lion. So Satan is the great counterfeiter. The Bible in the Revelation said that there is a lamb that came forth as a lamb, but he spoke as a what? Dragon. That's America. America came as a young nation and everything, and still it looks all pure and everything, but it's the great dragon. Think about all the blood this country shed. But yet you can say, you can look at the Constitution and they'll tell you how glorious it was. They can look at the westward expansion and tell you how glorious it was and say, America the great, we got the Statue of Liberty, but then you go and look at the foundation of this nation and you see that it's laid in bones and blood and everything. So it'll look like a lamb, but it'll speak like a dragon. America said, we're going to give democracy to all the world. What does it go do? It goes over there and drop bombs. It goes over there and sends soldiers and tanks and all this stuff. It said another country won for democracy. And then you go back and look at the countries, what they've done to them, and how they've stolen their natural resources, and how they incited rebellions and assassinations and everything. And then you say, man, but they look so clean, and this is what makes some of these people that come over here, and they say, why do black people complaining about until they get over here, and then they get in the system, and then they get so gobbled up in this system that they'll even forget about who they are. They'll look over their African nations or nations that they came from and look down on the nations that they came from, and then and when they finally do wake up, then they'll say, oh yeah, it was something to what those African Americans were talking about. Because then what happened when the people that came over from Somalia in the 90s and they came and lived in Minneapolis and all over this country, and then they start seeing what America was doing in Somalia. What did they do? They formed Al-Shabaab and say, you know what, we're going to go back to our country and fight against America, the country that we were sent to for as refugees, because we can see through what they were doing, right? But it took that for them to understand America looked like a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon because of the power, prince of the power of the air, putting it in the airwaves, right? This is the power that he has, but that power can be broken. Where's another instances where you see how Satan can put something out there in the atmosphere because he is the prince of it, and it'll change things, right? Go to 1 Kings, the 19th chapter, and starting at verse 3. Because this is the key thing. The Bible said that he goes about, the Bible says in Revelation that the Antichrist will speak great swelling words against the Most High, right? And you even see when David was fighting against Goliath, what was one of the primary things Goliath did before he even fought? The Bible said he got forward there with his 6 fingers and 6 toes and started railing against Israel and defying Yah and say, you Israelites, you're a bunch of cowards, and I'm going to, destroy you and everything. And then David came out and said, what are y'all letting this uncircumcised Philistine say this about Yah's people, right? And he said, I'm going to cut your head off because I got to stop those words that you said. And the Bible said before he even came out and he started fighting, he said the words that Goliath was saying made the hearts of the Israelite men melt. They were looking at how big he was, yeah, but it was the words that he was saying that made their heart melt, and said they fled in fear before him, but David didn't, right? Okay, so let's go to 1 Kings 19th chapter, verse 1. And this is talking about Elijah and Ahab. In verse 1, it said, and Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and with her how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, so let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah, and left his servant there. Now, Elijah had just won a mighty battle on Mount Carmel, where Yah had came down in fire and had consumed his sacrifice and showed himself great, and he had killed the prophets of Jezebel, the prophets of Baal. He had, liberated, at least for that moment, the people from somewhat the clutch of Jezebel and Ahab. And the Bible said that he told Ahab, he said, listen, the famine is getting ready to lift. Yah's getting ready to send rain, and the Bible talks about, and in the 18th chapter, that Yah laid the spirit on Elijah. He was able to outrun the chariot of Ahab into Jezreel, which was, and when you looked at the distance between where he was at in Mount Carmel and Jezreel, it was 30 miles. He outran the chariot because the spirit of Yah had came upon him. He was just like a sprinter the whole 30 miles. When he got to Jezreel, though, Jezebel found out that he had killed the prophets. And she said she sent her messenger to do what? To speak in the ears of Elijah and say, you know what? The same thing that you did to my prophets is going to happen to you today. And the Bible said whatever was that was said to him made his heart melt. He fled for his life. Even after Yah had did all this great thing, because what? The prince of the power of the airwaves had got hold to him. And this is what the enemy does today with the technology, because he controls it, right? But because we know that it is a spiritual thing, that is why we must walk in the what? Spirit. The Bible says that in Ephesians, he said, walk in the spirit so that you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Because the enemy will come. He doesn't care how many victories you got. He don't care how many times that you have won against him. He's going to come back over and over and over. It was a scripture where it talked about how he had, when he had tempted Yeshua, and then Yeshua, he departed from Yeshua. The Bible said he departed only for a season, because he kept coming back. That's why you see over and over and over where Yeshua was going to pray. Whenever he had a chance, he would go off to the side and he would pray against these things that the enemy was going, because you don't see all the stories and things that was written that Yeshua did, because John said that it would not have enough books to see. But you see select scriptures like in John, where the Bible talked about how the disciples got on the ship, and when they was going across the Sea of Galilee, how a storm came, how the atmosphere was disturbed by what? The prince of the power of the air, how he disturbed it, and he was trying to drown them. And what happened? Yeshua came walking on water toward the ship. And when they seen him, Peter said, Yah, can we come, Yeshua, can we come out there? He said, come on out, Peter. And he said, as Peter was walking on the water toward Yeshua, he said that he looked around, he seen the waves and stuff crashing. He's got a fearful, and then he started sinking. And then he said, Yeshua reached his hand out and pulled him up out of there. He said, oh, you a little faith. You shouldn't have looked at the storm and stuff. You shouldn't have looked at the atmosphere and stuff that was going, that Satan was disturbing you, because even though the atmosphere around you was being disturbed, he couldn't touch you. So now we got these messages that Satan is sending out on the internet. You got pornography that can disturb you and get you off track. You got illegal things that you can do on the dark web that can distract you and everything. He said, but don't let the things that he is doing around you to disturb you and cause you to be stirred up. So keep your eye on the right path, and so that you can get to the other side. And the Bible said, as soon as Yeshua got in the ship, the Bible said, and this is amazing, this is another miracle that nobody even paid attention to. The Bible said that as soon as Yeshua got in the ship, the Bible said immediately the ship was on the shore. It was like Tommy stepped in the boat. It was like it materialized on the shore because he got in the ship. So the key is we must be born again. You got to get Yeshua in your heart. You got to be born again. You got to be filled with the Spirit, because he is the only thing that can calm the atmosphere around it. And the storm went away, right? And so this is showing us that no matter how we get victory after victory, it's not us, it's Yah that's in us that's getting the victory. So that when we take our eye off, and that's what later on, when you read in the 19th chapter of 1 Kings, you will see where Elijah almost got to the point where he had thought it was him that had defeated the prophets of Baal, because when Yah brought him out to Mount Horeb, he said, what are you here for? Elijah said, I only am your prophet, Yah. I'm the only one that's left that's doing right. I'm the only one. He said, no, I got 7,000 that have not bowed the knee to Baal or kiss his image. He said, the journey is too great for you. Here, you eat this meal. He made a meal. He brought the angel to him, and he brought him a meal. And the Bible said he went in the strength of that meal for 40 days. Because it was the word, and that represented the word, the manna, the word of Yah daily, that he must, for some reason, maybe was not consuming. Maybe he wasn't able to pray like he was able to, and then he had got weak, and he didn't understand that when a Jezebel came in, because he wasn't, and because Satan's message is always in the atmosphere, it can grab hold to you. And I know, you notice this, I noticed this whenever, when we used to be in the Christian church, I would notice that anytime that y'all would give me a message that would like really bless people, something told me, say, you better fast and pray because the enemy is getting ready to come in on you just like he did Elijah. And I would always see where he would try to do that, because the devil understands psychology, because he's the prince of the power of the air. He's always watching. He knows that we have a tendency for pride, and he's like, okay, they're going to probably be prideful because they was there, and I'm going to be able to slip up on them and get them unawares. This is where we are not ignorant of what? Your mom was saying it this morning. We're not ignorant of the devil's devices. And it's funny, what is the thing that's causing a lot of people in the Christian church, in the Hebrew, whatever, is the devices, the phone, the computer. All of the social media, these are the devices of the devil, or at least that he uses. Now, y'all can use them too, but primarily it is his. When they create all these technologies, it's not a coincidence. Y'all knows what was going to happen, so that's why he had the writers of it to say the devices of the devil. What? So here we find that you can't put your faith in your flesh, that you're going to be able to defeat the message of Satan on your own. You got to have Yah inside of you, all right? Here's another instance, right? But this is an instance showing you how Yah can use that same atmosphere, because he created it all for his good, where he can put a message out there for all to see. Go to Isaiah, the 5th chapter, verse 26. Because just like Satan can use the atmosphere, the airwaves, Yah can too, right? It's such thing as what they call the sixth sense, where for somehow people become aware of stuff that maybe somebody else was aware of without that person telling them, right? Like, it's like, I heard we used to hear, me and your mom when we grew up, they used to have this saying, a little birdie told me that I shouldn't go to such and such place. And they'd be like, what do you mean? I just don't know. Something told me not to. And then you would hear a lot of other people say, yeah, I heard the same thing. But it wouldn't be nobody that would told them. Because even though even though Yah took some of those abilities away from us, the sixth sense, which is probably more the sixth sense, but the sixth sense is usually the one that they talk about when you are aware of stuff without even seeing, touching, or whatever. If something makes you aware, that is the atmosphere, because things go out in the universe. So let's go to Isaiah 5 and 26. It said this, and he said, he will lift up an ensign, talking about Yah, to the nations from afar, and will hiss. Remember that word, unto them from the end of the earth, and behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. This is talking about Yah said that he would lift up an ensign for the nations. What he was talking about here, that he was going to send out a message into the atmosphere for this one country to be destroyed, and the Bible said he would hiss. Now that word in Hebrew means more like shh, like hey. It would almost be like this country that Yah wants to be destroyed. He would look at another country, hey, I need you to I need you to tear down. And then the king like, you know what? We need to invade that country today. I don't know why, but something told me I need to invade that country and destroy it. He said he would cause an army come from the other ends of the earth and move swiftly to come and destroy another nation that y'all had put out in the atmosphere. Hey, we need to go and destroy that. We need to go and destroy that country. And then be like, you know what? We need to go destroy it. They got some things that I just don't like about them. And the people be thinking that's why the Bible said that Yah controls the basis of men that are over these nations. He controlled Trump. He controlled all these people. He said he raises up the basis of men to rule over these nations to do his will. He controlled Titus and all them that came and destroyed Jerusalem because what? Yeshua had told them in Matthew 23 and 24 that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed. So Yah put it in the hearts of the Romans that, hey, you know what? These Yahudim just won't obey us. They don't want to do what we say. Let's go destroy Jerusalem. Even though we was listening to Obadiah Israel talking about it, he was talking about over and over and over again how Titus didn't want to really destroy Jerusalem. He kept trying to figure out ways not to do it, but something will always egg him on that you got to destroy it. That was Yah saying, destroy it, destroy it. Yeah, I don't really want to destroy it, but let's destroy it anyway. Yeah, I really don't want to go in there, you know, but I'm going to go in there. That was Yah doing it. When the Europeans went into Africa and started doing slavery, yeah, I think we need to go down there and enslave some of them people and take them into captivity. That was Yah saying, go down there and do the Atlantic slave trade because my people are in disobedience. How you think the Bible said when the Bible said in Isaiah, he said, how can one put 1,000 and two 10,000? He wasn't talking about us. He was talking about the enemy. He said, except their rock, y'all had sold them. He enabled them to go in there in Africa and do what they did. If we know about the Songhai Empire and all those great empires, how were they able to go in there and defeat them people? And we know they can't even deal with the sun. Y'all made it possible. He told them, keep coming back. They ain't stopped there. They came back later and colonized and chopped it apart. Because Yah put it out in the atmosphere for them to do it. Right now, Satan did also, but Yah allowed it to happen. Let me show you another one. Zechariah, the 10th chapter, starting at verse 5, where Yah is putting something out there in the atmosphere for something to happen. Right? So this is Zechariah 5 and Zechariah 10, starting at verse 6. I'm sorry. Okay, Zechariah 10, starting at verse 6. And it reads, he said, I will strengthen the house of Yehuda, and I will save the house of Joseph, and I will bring them again to place them, for I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am the Master thy Elohim, and will hear them. And they of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as through wine. Yea, their children shall see it and be glad. Their heart shall rejoice in the Master. Listen to this. I will hiss for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall be increased as they have increased. So he's saying in the end times, it's not an accident that all these people, like me and your mom, we weren't even looking for this stuff about Hebrew Israelite. But everybody that almost you see, black people that came into this understanding, it was like something led them to look at a video or read a scripture or a dream like your mom had, but she didn't think about it till later on about us. He said he was, hey, y'all the people, look at this. Like that one video, because that one video that I showed you, Mom, I had seen that video a couple of times, but I ain't paying no attention to it. But then when I finally caught it, I told your mom, I said, why don't you look at this? She said, And for the first couple of times, she was like, I don't know about that. And then she kept looking at it, and then she kept looking at it. I guess Yah kept talking to her, and he was talking to me, and she came to me. He said, we the people. I came home from work one day. Your mom said, we the people. I see it now. I was like, whoa, man. She was like, after that, she just took off because she seen it. But it was Yah that was, hey, look at this. Take a deeper look at this. And then I started listening, thinking about the dream that he gave me the first year I was born again, about Ezekiel and the dry bones and stuff. And I'm like, man, he was trying to tell me back then. And then the dream your mom had. And then you listen to Watchmen and some of these other people about how they came into the understanding where they were like, man, I don't believe that stuff. But something that's like, look at it again. When they got it, it was like, he said, I'm going to hiss. He said, I'm going to whisper to them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall be increased as I have increased. He said, and I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries, and they shall live with their children and turn again. So he's saying they're going to be in far countries when they come to understand this. They're going to be like, what? No. He said, I will bring them again out of the land of Egypt and gather them out of Assyria, and I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them. And he shall pass through the sea with affliction, and shall smite the waves in the sea, and all the deeps of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Assyria shall be brought down, and the scepter of Egypt shall depart away. And I will strengthen them in the master, and they shall walk up and down in his name, saith the master. He's talking about how he's going to get us stirred up, how he's going to bring it. Why do you think this thing of going back to Africa, being stirred up about Africa? Because Africa, Israel is part of Africa. And Africa has always been kind of the lower part of Africa, because we know that Israel is on the same plate as Africa, so it is part of Africa. There has always been a place that has hid and been kind to Yah's people. He said he gonna bring us back into there. This is why you got all this stuff of people talking about, even people that don't believe they Hebrew Israelite or think they are, is all talking about going back over there, or at least paying a visit for years and years and years. Why now? Because Yah is trying to show us right here. Jeremiah 49 and 14. We're going to try to speed it up a little bit. He said, this is talking about Yah again, how he puts stuff out in the atmosphere. He's going to put this up. He said, Jeremiah 49, 14, he said, I have heard a rumor from the master, talking about the Lord, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to battle. This is talking about Yah putting out a rumor to destroy Babylon. Babylon is what? Us, this nation. That's why I'm saying I prayed over y'all, because this destruction is coming to this country, because Yah has already put it out there. Hey, it's time to destroy that country. They ain't no good. Why do you think Trump came out? Yah allowed that to come to stir up the nation. He said a rumor. It's like Yah put out, say, you know something about that country? They're really why did these truthful people came out back around 2011? Me and your mom used to watch it, and they were bringing out all this stuff about the dirt that America was doing with the vaccines and all that. They did it themselves. It wasn't black people. It was them. It was them that were bringing out all this stuff about how America was doing secret plans and FEMA camps and all that. That wasn't black people. That was them. That was Yah putting out the what? Rumor. Now, rumor don't mean that it ain't true. It just that he put it out there. Look at it. You need to take a closer look. But what that did, that allowed us as black people to start detaching ourselves from Babylon, so that when this message about us being the people came, we could catch hold to it and say, yeah, that's right, we do need to come out. This is don't need to be our eternal home. We got to start looking other places. If we see all this stuff that they done, not just the Tuskegee experiment that they did with us, they did other stuff, and how they did the COINTELPRO against the Black Panthers, and how they did all this stuff was Yah putting this stuff out so we can see it. People going to the archives and bringing up stuff about the slave Bible. Black people didn't know nothing about the slave Bible that took books out of the Bible. What? All of this stuff. He said, I'm going to send it out. This is Yah. He using the same technique that the enemy used, right? Then you go to Obadiah 1:1. This is talking about how he's going to put out there to destroy the Middle Eastern countries, right? Obadiah 1:1 said, the vision of Obadiah. Thus said the master Elohim concerning Edom, which is the Saudi Arabia and those countries, right? We have heard a rumor from the master, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. And I'm mistaken. Jeremiah 49:14 was about Edom too. I'm sorry. It wasn't about Babylon, but he did put out for there's another scripture where he talks about Babylon being destroyed. He hits to the other nations, but these two are about how he's putting out there to destroy the Middle Eastern countries who had a lot to do with more people going into slavery than the transatlantic slavery. Islam destroyed way more than us for a much longer time than the Western nations do, although they are in agreement with each other. This is talking about how he's going to put out a word for them to be destroyed, right? Then we got Genesis 3:15. And this is talking about after man fell, how Yah put it out there, something out there in the atmosphere too. He said, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Right? And so, after man fell, Yah put it in men to have a natural inclination against Satan and those that will follow him at first. But what ended up happening was Satan was able to change the atmosphere. Just like we read in Ephesians, he was able to change the atmosphere so that people would come to forget. That's why when you go into Romans, the first chapter, it talked about in the beginning, men knew about Yah. But as time went, Satan was able to take control of the airwaves and make people forget about Yah and start thinking about their other gods. So that around the time when you read Romans, the Bible said that it's in it, Yah had even put it in your consciousness before you even got saved, that when you did stuff, you knew that it was wrong. Without even reading the Bible or anything, when you did something bad, you knew it. But Satan has so deadened mankind, right, that you think about it and then you don't think about it. So there is people that might have not even ever read the Bible, heard about Yah or anything, but that when they did stuff that was wrong, they will know it's wrong, but it's the atmosphere is given to sin so much that our nature is, it don't bother us for so long, but that that Yah did put out a decree out there that we should be enmity of you against the devil and that what he do, but people naturally say, I don't care about that. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So that Yah had even put it out there. He said, I'm going to put the enmity between you and the devil and his seed. But what ended up happening, Satan was able to make people think that he was Yah and that Yah was him. That what Yah tried to make you do, that was right. That's not the devil. That's not God. That's the devil trying to take my freedom away from me. Trying to take my freedom to sleep with who I want, eat what I want, do what I want. This is what he has put out there. And so the third example we're going to end is showing how we, as Yah's creation, we can take control of that atmosphere ourselves and put things out there that will change things. Genesis 9:2 says this. This is Yah talking to Noah after they had came on Mount Ararat. And he said, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hands are they delivered. So Yah said, after Noah came, he said, I'm going to put friction between you and the rest of my creation, that when you come around, they're going to see you. They're going to be like, the animals like, it's a human around here. Let's get away. Let's get away. Here it comes. There's something out in the atmosphere where even if, like they said, sometimes you can touch certain things and the animals will come and they can smell your scent and they'll know I got to get out of here. Because he put that in us where we can put stuff out in the atmosphere where the animals will be able to feel that. And also, like when you see these people that go out and capture these animals and put them in zoos or put them in the circus or whatever, how they have some kind of control over them. He said he would put that, and that's because of the fallen state that we are in. Originally, he did give us dominion over them, not in a bad way, but a good way. But now the dominion that we have is an antagonistic thing where if I go out right there, they got some birds right outside the door right here. If I go, what's going to happen when the birds see me? They're going to fly off. What's going to happen if I go out there at night and like them deer came through and they see me? They're going to run off because Yah said, I put that in you. They put it in the airway like, here come human, let's get out of here. Now, sometimes the animals overcome that and might come up to you, right? If they get a familiarity. But for the most part, it's still the antagonist of them that we have in us that they're going to overcome. Exodus 2 and verse 23. And it says, and it came to pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried. And their cry came up unto Yah by reason of the bondage, and Yah heard their groaning, and Yah remembered the covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and Jacob, and Yah looked upon the children of Israel, and Yah had respect. So this is saying that we, as the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if we put that out in the atmosphere that, Yah, we need you to come, the Bible said that he is going to listen. This is why they're trying to distract us, because if we all got on one accord, the Bible said that Yah heard their cry by the reason of their groaning and remembered them because of that. That's why they're trying to keep us from doing what we're doing. Because the Bible said he remembered them and he looked upon them and he had respect unto them. Right? This is what is happening right now. This is why they're trying to keep us from galvanizing. But if we do, we can put it out there in the atmosphere where Yah's like, okay, I'm listening for them. I'm listening for them. I'm not hearing enough of them crying. Why you think all this stuff is happening? Yah, why you think he letting innocent people, allowing this to happen for innocent people to get killed and shot, to get us frustrated, get us to understand the hopelessness with our situation, so we can what? Cry to him. And when we do cry to him, he'll be like, okay, I hear him now. Yeah, I'm going to go have respect unto them. And he says this again in the here in the book of Exodus, the 3rd chapter, too. He said, moreover, I am the God, Yah of thy father, the Yah of Abraham, the Yah of Isaac, and the Yah of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Yah. And the master said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by the reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of that land unto a good land and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, unto the place of the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Amorites, Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now therefore, behold, the crowd of the children of Israel is come unto me, and I have also seen the oppression wherein the Egyptians oppressed them. So again, we can put something out there in the atmosphere where Yah is like, yeah, he put it out that they need my help. I'm going to go there. So we can put stuff out in the atmosphere for good to get Yah to move on our behalf, just like we did in slavery. Me and your mom was talking about that today. When the slaves was out there, even though they was calling on the name of Jesus, they didn't know nothing about Caesar Borgia, but they knew they was calling on Yah to deliver them. And also when they was out there in the field singing Kumbaya, they was calling on Yah to deliver them. And God heard them and sent the Civil War to pull us out of that slavery. Yeah. Then, and this is the last scripture we're going to go to show you again that we got to start putting it out there for Yah to hear, so he can come by here and see about it. Luke 7, verse 11. And he's starting verse 11. He said, and it came to pass that the day after that he went into a city called Nain, and many of his disciples went with him, and much people. Now when he came nigh to the gate of the city, behold, there was a dead man carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and much people of the city was with her. And when the master saw her, he had compassion on her, and he said unto her, weep not. And he came and touched the briar, and they bare him that stood, and that bare him stood still. And he said, young man, I say unto thee, arise. And he that was dead sat up and began to speak, and he delivered him to his mother. Right? And so this is the thing. He was in the city, not primarily to do that, to raise that man from the dead, but when he heard the people what? Crying because the man was dead. He said he came over there because of the cry, and he told the woman, don't weep, I'm going to revive your son. This is the state that we are in, that Yah's son is come to raise us up, not just spiritually, but also physically as a people. He wants to rise us up who were dead. The Bible said we are the valley of dry bones, but that's all over the world. But Yeshua wants to come and to raise us up, right? If we cry unto him. So we got to cry unto him. We got to put it out there in the universe. We got to send it out there in the universe that we need his help. And he will do it just like Satan put his message out there into the atmosphere for his followers to rise up and to do all this devilment. Yah said, you put it out there for me to do it, and I'll do it. Right? And so this is our message today. Put it out there in the universe. Let's put positivity. I put blessings. I speak blessings over all y'all. I speak salvation. I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. In fact, there go the bird. Look at it sitting right there on the chair. But I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. The manifestation of the sons of Yah is here. That creation that's been waiting for us, that we are going to rise up. We are going to come up to the standard of the stature of Yeshua. We are going to do it. I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere. And I'm telling you to put it out there in the atmosphere. When you see something that you know that is something good and wholesome and you want Yah to do it for you, put it out there in the atmosphere for Yah to do it. Put it out there for you if you see that you have a problem with certain people or groups or whatever. Put it out there in the atmosphere for Yah to move on your behalf, and he'll do it. Just like Satan, when you see the Lord of the Rings and all these things, and these people do these wicked incantations and ask for the Gort army to come forth and all this, and then they say, Solomon has heard you. He's sending the Gort, he's sending the troll army to help you. Doom, 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 doom. Yah can do the same thing. You know what Yeshua told Peter when he cut the high priest servant's ear off? He said, put your sword up, Peter. He said, don't you think I could call the Father? He could give me 12 legion of angels to deliver me if he wanted to. If I put it out there, he can do it. Now, we don't tempt him now. We don't go into a situation and then tempt him and ask him to send it. But if you're in a situation, he said he can send 12 legion of angels like it ain't nothing. Because he said we are in the form, conform to the image of Yeshua. We can speak and do. He said, greater works you shall do more than me. That's why I know this thing has got to revive. We got to start seeing people getting raised from the dead. We got to start seeing people with blinded eyes see. We got to see people with mental illness and the depression, which we talked about, being the spirits cast out and people being made well. We got to see that because he said it is a sign. We got to see it. We got to put it out there in the atmosphere that we'll break poverty, that we'll be able to come into the fullness of what he wants to, not be satisfied with the mediocre, right? And we got to pray for our continent, Africa, that Yah will make ability for them to break free of neo-colonialism. That is our message today. Put it out there in the atmosphere. Pray my strength.